Welcome to this week's video, and we take a significant departure. In fact, we head in the opposite direction to what we've been doing the last few weeks in terms of digital streaming, and we are fully embracing the world of analog, where it all started, I guess, many years ago for many audiophiles, and where many still find a great deal of solace and, of course, musical, which is a hard word to say normally, satisfaction. So what have we been doing this week? Stay tuned and all will be revealed. Now, before we get fully into this week's video, I absolutely 100% have to talk about something we mentioned in last week's video, which was we were in the process of burning in the brand new musical Fidelity A1 Pure Class A amplifier. And the reason that I feel compelled to mention it at the start of this week's video is that it's been quite a revelation. It's been going through the burn-in process. We have it actually set up in here. It's off camera, but I'll bring up some footage so you can see exactly the setup. So we have it in here with an Eversolo DMP A6, the standard edition. We have a pair of Wharfedale, Dovedale loudspeakers, and of course the A1. And I've got to say that the sound that we have experienced in this small listening room has been some of the best that we have heard at any system we have built up. Now, the system's not inexpensive. I think it's round about £7,500 with everything in it. The bulk of the cost actually in the Wharfedale speakers, which have also been a revelation. Terry Ellis from Pursuit Perfect System did a great video review on these, and in fact I'll put the link, which is not in context for this video, but I think it's a great review done by Terry as always on how good these are, and they are really, really, really good. I'll be honest, and this is hard to admit, but I've probably over the years had a bit of personal bias about Wharfedale, feeling that perhaps they were somewhat a betrayal of the earlier brand, and I know some people may castigate me for that, and I fully understand, but it's all about personal preferences. But these Dovedales, wow, and the A1 is a amp to drive them, and I tell you what, the headroom on this A1 is ridiculous. I mean, you can get the volumes at levels that you will have to go and see a hearing specialist afterwards, because it can drive them so well, and the range top to bottom, the actual sound is so engaging. Graham himself, our marketing manager, also said it's one of the best sounds that he's heard in our whole setup. So it says a lot. This comes back to what I said previously about a synergized system, that I would not have really honestly thought about matching these components together. Now I've heard them together. Wow, what a combination. Anyway, I'm going off on a different subject, and that's for a different video. This week, I would say I have over the years had a love-hate relationship with turntables, and I'll explain why. My very first experience of a turntable was as a very young boy, and my parents had a Sanyo music centre. Now, those of you in my age category will know exactly what a music centre is. It's effectively the equivalent of the all-in-one devices we see today, with the built-in streamer, CD player, amplifier and DAC all-in-one unit. This was the 1970s. I think they came out in the late 60s, to be honest. In fact, they had a radiogram before that, but whilst my parents, this is a slightly off-topic story, but when I was about 6 years old, my parents got up one Sunday morning to discover that I had completely dismantled their radiogram in the living room that my uncle Jimmy, who was an electronics genius, had built for them. I had a natural curiosity back then about how things worked, and the only way that I thought I could discover how was to systematically pull it apart. I've got to say that's the last time ever my parents had a lie-in on a Sunday morning. I felt that they reckoned I need to be chaperoned from the second I got out of bed, and toolkits were firmly hidden away beyond my height of a 6-year-old. Anyway, but my first real memories of playing music that meant something and had some sound quality to it was when they bought this Sanyo Music Centre. And I remember I had the S-shaped tone arm, had VU meters. It was brilliant. And then of course as a young adult and owning various turntables. But I would say I probably embraced digital quite early on when CD players came out. I remember I had a Philips system, and I did kind of go back into vinyl a little bit, but then kind of moved away from it. But then over in the last 20-30 years had various turntable setups. Now my love-hate relationship really stems from the fact that I have found that sometimes getting that perfect balance setup on a high-end turntable at times, probably because I am a tweaker, I'm always thinking, well, I wonder if that could sound better, and constantly, doing this test with VTA, getting the azimuth right, and so forth, that it kind of takes away at the time the enjoyment of the music itself. So I've kind of had turntables in my system on and off the last few years, mainly I would say not having them and then having them back in again. So recently I was aware that Project had brought out these balanced turntables, the X1B and the X2B, and that kind of piqued my interest some more. And particularly recently when Project announced they were also bringing out a moving magnet balanced cartridge. Now, those of you that understand about analog, you will know that moving magnet cartridges aren't balanced because they are earthed or grounded. But moving coil, where the plus and minus are completely separate and they are detached from the earth, is precisely what you need for a balanced setup. So this whole concept by Project piqued my interest. The second part that piqued my interest was how, I would say relatively, and I'll use the word affordable loosely in this context, because when you get to this, any level in this kind of price range, they are still expensive items, and the Project here is no exception. But I liked the idea it was virtually as close to vinyl can get to plug and play. So I was curious as to how easy it would be to set up. I deliberately didn't use stylus scales to start with because I wanted to see if I could take out the box, follow the instructions, and within 15-20 minutes have it playing and enjoying the music. So we got a Project X1B, which is an entry level. It's normally $899. You'll see in the description below there is an offer currently at $699. I'll explain why later on in the video. The one that I opted for was the real wood walnut finish. This comes in 3 finishes. You've got high gloss black, which I think a lot of people will want, high gloss white, which again would suit a varying degree of setups, but I went for the walnut. And again, as you'll see from the video footage, which is in my own home, that it complements my own aesthetics in that particular room. Anyway, so I've got to say, absolutely fair play to Project. It's, I would say, an outstandingly good sounding turntable, but I'll come to that, more of the sound, shortly. The part I want to talk about initially is how easy it was to get it out of the box and set up, and I know from talking to many people, this is probably the part that puts most people off vinyl. Let's be honest, you can buy a streamer, connect it to your network, log into the app, and off you go. I think early streamers weren't quite as straightforward, and there was lots of IT issues and networking issues, even broadband speed issues that made that part quite difficult indeed to do. So to be honest, this part makes it, I think, opens the door to a number of people that wouldn't perhaps have considered vinyl. So the unboxing is really easy. The whole structure, as you remove it from the box, is done logically and progressively. So each part you bring out first brings you to the next part you will need, and so on. The part that I was really curious about, because putting on the belt and the platter is really easy, putting the lid on is really easy. The cartridge comes pre-fitted from the factory. The standard cartridge is the Project S2 moving magnet, which is a really inexpensive cartridge. I had a look online, they're about 60 or 70 pounds brand new. So this is as far from high end as you can get as far as cartridges are concerned. The way that Project tell you to set it up is you take the cartridge cover off, you put the counterweight with the 0 part showing at the top, and you slide it on so that it actually clicks into position. You feel it clicking as it slides down the end stub of the tone arm, and surprisingly at that point everything was balanced. So literally you could take the cartridge, the tone arm off the armrest, and it would just balance in mid-air, which is where Project say you should start. There's then a very cleverly designed and positioned dial on the counterweight, and you rotate it to 18, which represents 1.8 grams of tracking weight. I then plopped it on the record, connected it up to the phono stage, connected the phono stage first, obviously. Plopping it on the record at that point would have no purpose whatsoever. The quietest turntable in history. The phono stage was already connected up at this point, and hey presto, sounded great, literally straight out of the box. And that took me 10 minutes from start to finish, which really surprised me. So that's the first aspect of it. But let me just quickly, I want to run through the technical specifications of this turntable because it's very pertinent to what we're talking about. So the first thing to say is this is a true balanced design turntable, meaning that unlike a lot of turntables, most of them don't have the balance connectors before the phono stage. In other words, you would normally connect RCA from the turntable to the phono stage, and then the phono stage may have then balance connectors from the phono stage directly then to your amplifier. But that's not the case with the B series, denoting balanced, on the Project X1 and X2. To access balance, it has a mini XLR output, which then goes to 2 full balance connectors into the phono stage. Project can supply you the perfect cable, but there are others on the market that will do this. It's a very simple case of plugging the mini XLR into the back of the turntable and connecting it up to the phono stage, which we use the Phono Box RS2, which is their flagship phono stage. Now in the moving magnet cartridge it comes with, it's not a true balance setup because the cartridge isn't, but the brand new X1B that's coming out has got their brand new Pro balanced moving magnet cartridge, which is brand new. It wasn't available when I did this test, but I will be adding it when it comes out in about a week or so time, and I'll probably add a little update in the notes in the video description so you can have a read and just see what differences I heard. That all said, I will say I am astonished, and I mean this in a way that I can't quite describe. So I've had the turntables I had previously, I'm not going to mention them by name, but the last one I had probably had a retail value of about £6,000. So more than 6 times the cost of this turntable. The amplifier I'm using is a Luxman L507Z, so it's the latest model. It has got moving magnet, moving coil inputs, but I decided I wanted to use Project's matched phono stage. I did do a comparison with the Luxman internal phono stage using the RCA connections from the turntable, but in all honesty, it wasn't even close to the performance I was getting with the combined setup of the phono stage and the turntable. Anyway, so if you're buying, so there's an offer, as I said, there's a £200 price reduction. This is because the new models that are following this one have this Pro Balance moving magnet cartridge fitted. But the £200 saving is more than the cost of the Pro balanced cartridge. So in theory, if you were thinking about this logically, buying the offer turntable, save yourself £200, buy the cartridge separate, you've then got 2 cartridges. You could even sell the Picket one that it comes with the standard. You'll get £30 or £40 back for it probably, but it's still something that you can do. Okay, I already covered the mini XLR out part. It's also got RCA outputs. Now, this would certainly allow you to have both connected at the same time. You can then determine which one you think sounds best in the context of your system. It has an 8.6 inch carbon tone arm that is both adjustable for VTA and azimuth. So that means getting the perfect setup from your tone arm and cartridge is very easy. And I checked the azimuth, and I've got to say, from the factory, everything was absolutely perfect. I checked the VTA and it was 100% horizontal, no deviation from where it should be. The azimuth again was perfect. So again, I've got to say, kudos again to Project. They've given you a turntable that literally, as I did in this case, attached the counterweight and off you went. What else? So, oh yes, so the motor is suspended. The benefits of that are fairly obvious. It reduces rumble and noise. It also reduces any vibration that is then picked up by the tone arm. It's got a stainless steel platter bearing. The platter itself is acrylic. So that again means that it is vibration free. There is no resonance within an acrylic platter. It also has damped and height adjustable metal feet, which is a nice touch. Again, the damped part means it reduces the chance of any acoustic feedback. The platter, as I said, it's acrylic, it's 1.5 kilograms in weight, and the turntable can be set for 33, 45, or quite unusually for a turntable, 78 RPM. I'm not sure how many people watching this have any 78 RPM records in their collection, but it is there nonetheless. Now, let's move on to the phono stage. I have got to say, I love this phono stage. It is the easiest and the most logical and the most tweakable that I've seen for a long time. No dip switches. Dip switches drive me nuts. I'm not kidding you. They're so fiddly. You're looking at the manual to figure out which dip switch does what. I guess they see it as a kind of a set and forget, which it kind of is to a certain extent, but having the ability to change things on the fly is what I love about the RS2 phono stage. Now, it's not inexpensive. It is normally $13.99, but if it's bought in conjunction with the turntable, then we bring the price down to £1,199. It's beautifully made. Now, interestingly, most phono stages are kind of like an artisan, one person's idea of how it should be. And that can work as long as your own ethos ties in with that individual. This design was, I would say, it was a conglomerate of those that are involved in the Sumiko part and the project part, and they collectively came together to design what they felt was the best phono stage, and I think this actually shows. But let me just talk you through what I think makes this great. The build quality, that's without question. It's beautifully made, one of the best at its price point. There's others you can buy around that price point that I've seen, but they don't have the build quality that the Project has, in my opinion. The way the switches feel, the push buttons, the way that they actuate, you can tell these are high quality, and it feels quality just in its use. So first of all, there's a switch gain, and that's simply an adjustable arrow, right and left, and again, you can do it on the fly. That's for moving magnet and moving coil. Again, there's a capacitance adjustment, that again is switchable, and again, you can do that on the fly in here. It's a bit like having DSP, if you want to call it that, into your phono stage. There's an impedance dial, which is for moving coil only, and again it has balance control, which is switchable. It also switches between the balanced and RCA settings on the phono stage, and once again I made the slight schoolboy error at the start, got it all connected up, plopped it on the record, selected the input on the amplifier, turned the volume up, thinking, that's a bit quiet. In fact, it was very quiet, there was no sound. And a very quick check of everything, I suddenly realised, of course, it defaults to the RCA connection. One touch of the button and it went on to XLR, and bang, there was the noise. Another really interesting feature on this, and I've not seen this on many phono stages, is it can switch between the standard RIAA EQ or the Decca EQ. So if you've got some older Decca recording vinyl, this will be a godsend, because you can then access the correct profile for the recording itself. So that is really, really good. Again, as I've said, it's got RC and XLR outputs. And of course, if you've got a moving coil cartridge, the True Balance design is absolutely perfect for this setup. As I've said, the positive and negative are isolated from the ground, so that then will give you a complete reduction of background power supply noise and hum. It is very noticeable. And of course, if you want to upgrade this any further, then you can do so with the Project Phono Box RS. That's my notes finished with. Which just leaves me to talk about the sound. I honestly, I am genuinely shocked at how good it sounds. I didn't expect it to sound as good as it did. In fact, it made me start to dig out some of my older record collection, and I was dragging in records from the garage, much to the consternation of my wife and the mess that I was making in the living room. But it was, I felt compelled. It was, oh, I wonder what that'll sound like. Oh, I wonder what that'll sound like. And record after record, and even my wife commented on the sound quality, how three-dimensional it was, the clarity, but there's warmth, proper analog warmth that I feel is what I missed on some of the more expensive turntables. Now, this turntable, despite my overall enthusiasm, is not going to give you the resolution that a £5,000 and £6,000 turntable with a £2,000 cartridge. It's a fraction of the cost, so adding us in a sense of realism, but it is hugely engaging, and that's the part that I feel I want from that type of hands-on gatefold sleeve, needle on the record experience. I played a Fink track from Perfect Darkness album, and it just sounded incredible. The depth of the bass, the mid-range, the high frequencies, the vocal, it was just absolutely staggering. I put on a Chris Stapleton album, and again, have never heard it sound in a way that made me want to listen to the album in its absolute entirety. Miles Davis, of course, is the kind of go-to for, you'll see Miles Davis being played at most hi-fi shows, but you know, So What is just one of the best that you can hear, and it's a great test track. And once again, I found myself getting fully drawn into the musical proceedings that were effectively being revealed bar by musical note by bar right in front of me, that I just felt an inability to take myself away from. And you can kind of tell I'm really surprised, and I can tell you now, this turntable is not going to go anywhere. It's staying firmly where it is, because it's a while since I've enjoyed music for music's sake. And that's not to say I don't enjoy my system, because I absolutely do. But in the sense that it was revelatory, it brought me to something, or a sense of something that I hadn't experienced for some time. Whether it's a nostalgic thing that maybe did trigger memories of that early Sanyo Music Centre, I'm not comparing it to that, because I'm sure, you know, nostalgia and our memory of sound is definitely viewed through rose-tinted hearing. There is no question of that. But whatever it was, it certainly struck a chord with me, and that is something which is what we seek for, and at a price. So whilst the combination of this is, you know, just over the £2,000 level, or there or thereabouts, probably just under £2,000, that's not inexpensive. But I tell you what, if you're thinking about something that can provide you with real musical satisfaction, that will have you probably sitting up to the early hours with your favourite tipple, a glass of wine, a whiskey or a liqueur, or if it's beer, and you're just there with the lights dimmed down, enjoying what's basically unravelling in front of you. It is, as an experience, I feel it's probably the best £2,000 you can spend. Now, we can easily bring that price down much lower with another phono stage. For example, the brand new SOTM phono stage, which is around the sort of £600 mark, that would complement this very well. And I have tested it with that phono stage, and again, it sounded great. Clearly, the RS2 phono box is doing a lot, but it is perfectly matched with its turntable counterpart. And that, again, highlights sometimes that when you match components, they will perform better than some of the individual parts that they combine together to create something remarkable. And I tried another phono stage, again I won't mention which one it is, but it cost a bit more than the Project and it wasn't as good. So there is clearly something about the synergy here, and Project have a lot of balanced phono stages in their product lineup, so you can really build this to your own budget. But this X1B with the Phono Box RS2, wow. I honestly, it is just, it's just wow. I'm going to break up a video, just a bit of B-roll showing some of the vinyl that I was listening to, so you'll see that coming up on screen just now, and I'll give you a flavour of some of my eclectic musical taste, you might want to say. But that all aside, it's all about the experience, and that it just ticked every box. I'm kind of stuck for a descriptive that really puts it into perspective, because it was genuinely revelatory and genuinely surprising. So if you are thinking about perhaps maybe upgrading an older turntable, or even just trying vinyl to see if it is your thing. I know some people have gone into it and come out of it again, but maybe it's because they made some, I would say, choices that didn't have the guidance behind it, and this for me has really opened my eyes to what can be achieved. So anyway, if you are interested, this is my personal email. You can contact me even about any aspect of your system. I promise you I'll reply to every single email that comes in, and thank you for those that have emailed, and I hope I've answered all your questions that you had. Equally, we do our very best to answer or respond to every comment on our videos, and again, that is also, I can't thank you enough. And the feedback we've had recently from those of you that I've even chatted on the phone to, who have commented on our videos, thank you again for your feedback and showing your appreciation for what we're trying to do here with our videos. We're trying to make them unscripted, engaging and real. That's kind of what it's about, is making them something that you can relate to in terms of your own system. And we get to that point every week where I ask for a small favour, and that is that if you're enjoying what we're doing, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It means a great deal to everybody here. We're a small team. We are passionate, enthusiastic, and we care about looking after you properly, and we really care about our business, and that business would not exist without you and your support, and part of that would be seeing that we're doing something you enjoy. So if you did like it in any way at all, please subscribe. We'd be eternally grateful. And also, if you haven't done so before, please try out our newsletter. It comes out every fortnight. There's early bird offers in there. There's offers that you will not see on our website or publicised anywhere else. They're exclusive for newsletter subscribers only, and how you can subscribe will be in the video description below this video in YouTube. Finally, have a great week listening to music. I have had the best week listening to music. It's been a concoction of this amazing A1 Wharfedale system in here, the Project X1B and the RS2 Phono Box at home. It's been fantastic. Thank you again so much for watching. As I said, we're a small business and we appreciate the fact that you take time to watch us and me ramble on for silly amounts of time, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you in next week's video, and until then, take care.